I like that saying of it's just different hats. You're putting a different hat. You're changing the pitch. You're changing the beginning. You're changing a little bit something, and it's so much better. It converts so much higher.
I basically kind of figured, look, I don't like working too hard. I genuinely do not. I am more into systems, and if I have to choose between making $1 million while working really hard versus making 100,000 but having a system that does the work where I only put in a few hours, I'm gonna choose less money but a system. But of course, with systems, you can actually be smart and you can structure it in a way where you do end up making $1 million, but without putting so much work. So anytime I approach any kind of task, I think, can I systematize it in some way, shape, or form? And with ads, what I figured is I can create a core pitch.
Yep.
And then I can create hats. And then I can put different hats on a core pitch. And so if I got 5 hats in a core pitch, I can basically have 5 ads where the pitch is the same, but the initial, say, 30, 60 seconds will be different. And that's exactly how I launched into YouTube ads several years ago. I basically went on. I had a program that I was heavily pushing at the time. And I figured, okay, what are all the different conversation starters that I can do? And you know what's interesting? I tested so many that just through the sheer effort of testing, sheer like trying different things, kind of like in a lab where you're sort of trying to figure things out, I ended up hitting on an angle that was so good and produced click-through rates so high that I ended up building like a whole program pitch around that. I ended up basically switching my main page, my main sales pitch from what it was to this new angle, because I figured, look, people are responding to this angle and it's the results are much better over here. So not only you get to increase your overall performance, but you can actually, by testing different angles, you can sometimes stumble into a winner so big that you're like, you know what, this is worthy of being a thing on its own.
Right. Yeah, I plan to do some pretty crazy, cool ads for my launch. Like I want to do I love the Avengers. I love Marvel. I'm going to do one with Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. I'm going to go all purple. I'm going to do everything. I have one with that. What am I wrote them down. I have a couple other angles because, again, one, it is good to shock and awe people. It's like you said, I like that saying of it's just different hats. You're putting a different hat. You're changing the pitch. You're changing the beginning. You're changing a little bit something. And it's so much better. It converts so much higher. I plan to do that for a launch. That's going to be cool because I'm dumping for my next launch. I'm dumping everything. I'm sick of launches. I've launched so many things. No more launching just one thing that has everything people need. Stick with that. I was going to say real quickly because I was curious, who is probably your number 1 to like number 3 people you follow, you look up to for like marketers, business people? I'm curious.
That's a good question. So I need to break them down into what we mean by looking up. So if by look up, I mean like who are the people that I would want to model, as in I would really like to swipe their copy, or I would really, love to sell products that from the angle that they're selling, right? That would probably be Frank Kern, because he's a master at coming up at spinning the same thing in different ways.
He spins very well.
Very, very well. And the other thing that he does well is he's so self-deprecating. And you know what I mean? Like his copy is genuinely entertaining because it's going to be funny. And I think if you can be self-deprecating in your communication to your followers, whether social media, email, your pages, your videos, I think you get lots of points for that. And I'm not as great at doing that in my copy, but I do think I'm pretty decent at it when it comes to communicating to my paying customers, like when we get on coaching calls in my mastermind, or when I get on one-on-one calls sometimes. Like I kind of feel comfortable doing that. But in my copy, like in my ads, I'm never self-deprecating.
Right. It's hard to like incorporate that.
Yeah,
that's one thing, right? To like, how do I stuff that right in there without? I don't want to lower the conversions. I don't want to,
exactly. You don't want to risk it because humor can backfire, and you want to be very, very mindful of that. So, I mean, that's why with the years I actually went on and I read books on stand-up. I watch all the Netflix stand-up specials just as a means of like
Right.
seeing what can I maybe steal ethically, sort of steal.
Right.
Can I steal a self-deprecating thing? I especially love the people who are self-deprecating. Who can really have a laugh at their own expense. So Kern is great.
Kern's great.
As far as people who come up with amazing angles and are able to sustain my attention as a reader, it's definitely going to be Tom Woods. It's going to be Ben Settle. Ben Settle
Okay,
is quite
nice.
amazing. But over the years, he becomes more and more and more and more extreme in the way he expresses his ideas. And I think I'm starting to question whether I can do that with my market.
Right.
Because I was that a couple of years back. I toned it down a bit, and I'm not sure if it was good or bad.
Good or bad,
Now,
right.
as far as the business gurus that can really affect the way I think. So when they say something, I listen. That's probably going to be Dan Kennedy.
Dan Kennedy's good. Always.
Yeah.
Everyone chooses Dan. He's good.
Yeah, Dan Kennedy's probably the guy for me because somehow over the years, anything that Dan Kennedy said, my brain doesn't even question that.
Right. It just goes, he's probably tested it. It's probably right.
Yeah, like if he says something, if some other guru will say anything, I'd be like, yeah, right, I'm not sure. Like if no offense to Joe Polish, for example, but like when Joe Polish says something, I'd be thinking about it. I would try to poke holes in it. Then again, no offense to Joe Polish.
No, I would say this. I was gonna say I would say the same thing. Most after you've been in the game, you've done business for so long, you start to know who's good, who's bad. Just in general, I question almost everything I hear from marketers, business people. Most of the advice and stuff I actually don't take to heart. I think people should be very, very selective in who they listen to, because while I think nearly everything works, you can do drop shipping, you can do affiliate marketing, you can go buy and sell from garages and make tons of money. You can do all types of different things. But in general, I think there's very few people who don't just talk about what they know, but actually teach it very in depth and that give it with value and that actually genuinely care about their audience. So like you said, I think Frank Kern's huge. Dan Kennedy's huge. And I think people should only take certain parts of who they listen from who they're listening to. For example, like Grant Cardone gets a lot of hate, gets a lot of love. Grant Cardone, I take business's speed and volume because it's entirely true. Tony Robbins is kind of more, to me, in my opinion, again, some people like him, some people hate him. I don't know how, but some people hate him. Very genuine, caring, real, intense. Then a little bit of humor, a little bit of Frank Kern, a little bit of humor. And actually, unfortunately, I can't really think of too many other examples that, like I said, I don't think either of us really follow, because I think right now there's a couple people who are kind of leading for a while. Russell led a lot of the industry. Frank, a little bit ago, he led the industry way back, especially when it got started. He still does good, but not as much presence. There's not like really a huge presence right now that I sense.
There are a few, but I don't.
There's a few?
I maybe I'm too old now, and I sort of like reminisce about what used to be. You know what I mean? Like the people I used to follow and look up to are sort of quiet these days because I think they just settled into their system and routine. There's one guy who I highly recommend looking up, and it's Naval Ravikant.
Okay.
Very, very smart business mind. Yeah. He wrote a few books as well. He's definitely worth checking out because he understands business. So it's not so much marketing; it's more business and business thinking. I think a lot of people who get into what we do, they lack the business component.
Business component, yeah, definitely,
absolutely,
100%.
Look, we're coming on time. So if I know you got a launch coming up, and there's probably lots of affiliate marketers listening, so maybe you can talk about that. Maybe you can talk about what else you got going on these days. I know you do speaking gigs, so this is your moment, man. The spotlight is on you.
All right, folks, I'm gonna sell you. I'm gonna sell you hard. Just kidding, kind of. So, one way, if people like this conversation or anything we're talking about, to work with me, the best way to learn from me, again, I'm always I want to give massive value first, help, If you happen to like what I say, then buy from me if you want. So first thing actually I would say is go to my YouTube channel. Just look up John Weberg on YouTube. Watch some of my stuff. If you like it, you like the messaging, you like what I'm teaching, educating, great. And then if you feel that's good stuff, go to profitalize.com. I'll actually probably be talking with Igor, trying to make a wheel and deal. But profitalize.com, it's a pre-launch right now. I'm just slowly getting it ready. There's still a lot to it. But what Profitalize is imagine a home for all entrepreneurs, all business owners of any kind. Whether you're wanting to build or scale your list, whether you're wanting to learn about lead generation, whether you're wanting to learn copywriting. Combine an all-in-one training resource with every template you could ever need. You don't want to learn. You just want to grab a template, plug it in. With a community, and I'm throwing this in there because I think community is huge for entrepreneurs because we don't have one right now, and I'm trying to build it for everyone, profitalize.com. As well, I'm going to be giving rewards for people who engage, interact with the community, and there will be an affiliate program. So if you want to join a community for entrepreneurs, get ready for it, profitalize.com. Other than that, watch my stuff on YouTube. Other than that, work with Igor, buy everything Igor does as well because Igor is absolutely fantastic. Again, genuinely, he is one of the only people I have ever bought from online because I don't buy from almost anyone because like we're saying, like there's only so many people who I think who not deserve the kudos, but who, again, genuinely care, who I know are good stuff, who have enough marketing angles that they just persuade you and get you to buy in. And he's very, very good. And I like that a lot about him. So buy from Igor, work with Igor, learn about me if you want, or just go to johnweberg.com. Go to one of 3 places. I gave you too many now to learn more about me and what I do. And then also feel free to message me anywhere, social media, anywhere. I love to strike up conversation, chat, hang out, all the good stuff. And then real quickly, speaking events, I'm back strong. I'm liking it way more. Going to New York. If anyone's in New York, June 7th. Have you heard of oh my gosh, I can't think of the name. I think it's Mastermind. There's some bougie, kind of bougie, very high ticket event I most likely will be speaking for. I'll let you know about that. It's pretty cool, especially from where I came from. Will I see you around some events and stuff, right?
Yeah, you absolutely will. I'm going to, there's going to be one in June, a mastermind,
Cool.
Mark Link's mastermind in Vancouver, which, you only get to go if Mark personally invites you.
Oh, wow.
And you basically have to do really well on his product launches. Fortunately, this year I did well twice, and it's my first time going, and I expect the room to be full of like guys like us, like who really know their stuff. Another one is in Vegas in August. Mm-hmm. And there's something else happening in July, which I just don't remember. But yeah, basically I'm trying to be very, very selective about the events I go to, because when I immigrated from Israel to Canada and I was finally on this, part of the world, I tried to compensate for all the years that I didn't go to events.
Oh, right.
And I would be flying in, the event where we met up, and Omar's and other events. And I kind of went overboard in my opinion, and I burnt out from events because there's a lot of networking. But
there's so much.
Yeah, but there were a few that were a bit, I would say, trajectory changing, but not so much because of something that someone said from stage. It's more about the backstage conversations that you're having with people,
Yeah. I remember real quick when me and Igor met, for people listening, it was at an event in Florida, Commission Expo. We kind of we saw each other, and we were both younger guys, especially at the time. I mean, we're both young. Yeah. We're both young still, but we were both pretty young. And we saw each other, we started chatting, and he goes, "Let's go get some coffee." And I'm like, I hate coffee, but this guy's nice. This guy's nice, so I'm going to go with him to get some coffee. And we went, we chatted, and we hit it off. And then the next day we talked, and the next day we talked, like, okay. And it kind of just worked out, especially off camera too. We get along really good, so it's fantastic. And I'm anyone who goes to events too, I hope either one of us or both of us see it at some events, because getting back into it. But yeah, being selective because there's so many actually events going on, especially if like I can do a sales vertical. Sales is a whole other thing. I can do marketing. I can do copywriting, blah, blah, blah. There's so many different events to go to. It's like, I don't want to be flying all the time. I don't like flying. I'd rather just like once a month.
Oh yeah, dude.
Twice a month. That's good. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely don't like traveling either. Kind of knocks me out of my routine. I'm more of a hermit kind of guy. Anyway, we do unfortunately have to wrap up because I got another one coming up. So thank you so much for taking the time. Pleasure chatting with you. And until we chat next time, have a good one.
Sounds good. Take care.